Good morning and welcome to the Armchair Monologues. My name's Ben, I'll be your host. And this subject is the alphabet people. So to clarify who the alphabet people are, I watched a very good video by Douglas Murray. And there is a very big difference between what was the LGBT community that fought for their rights and got them. And then there is a gulf of difference from the modern trans movement, which didn't fight for any rights, but is asking for special rights. And I'll just briefly the history of it. It's been studied for over 40 years. If left to their own devices, 85% or more people choose to stay in the same body and enter same-sex relationships, so they were just gay. That was what they were confused about. Probably another mental health disorder always generally goes with it. But now, that only affected 0.004% of the people, but the WHO declassified it for no reason. There was nothing submitted to them on the subject to suggest declassifying it. And just ask yourself this, how much are trans issues and the idea of children being given puberty blockers, which was never done in the past until it was declassified, and looking at the world since, is there less trans mania or more? I'm going heavily in on there's more. You only see TikTok to see the extent of these woke, brainwashed, toss card. I can't think of. I'm not going to think of a nice word to say, but these idiots who think that how they think and feel becomes a fact that we all need to recognise. And the best demonstration of this is Sam Smith. He should have shut the hell up till he made his final decision, and we don't even know he's made his final one. But no one needs to know about all the little changes you make on your journey. And that's a big thing Gen Z don't understand, is you can have identity crises, you can work through them, and you're going to have more and more, because you're not going to have the same personality at 20 as you are at 30, or certainly not 30 as you are at 40. So your life changes. So broadcasting your changes online and making them quite grotesque in some ways. I said, he doesn't go to Pride because it's not to his tastes, and it wouldn't be to mine because it is a celebration of people just for their sexuality. There's no straight day. I don't want there to be, just to clarify, and I don't mind there being Pride Month or whatever, but for me, it's a weirdo concept, the way they do it. The rainbow pride flag is taking over almost national flags now. And that 0.004% of that group who genuinely suffer with gender dysphoria are being done a disservice by the others who either had it installed in them through teaching or are playing with it as some sort of social hierarchical game of oppression. And so that's why we have so many new constructions of gender. When LGBT finally became those 4 words, the transgender movement fought for their rights to change from a woman to a man. There was none of this 454 gender crap. And if you look at the current acronym, it's 2S LGBTQIA plus infinity sign. And that is the abbreviated version. They didn't consult with the L's, or the B's, or the G's. And, as was put very eloquently by a lesbian and by Douglas Murray, who happens to be gay, there's nothing less in common than a gay man with a trans activist. There's no polar, they're not in the same movement. When they came in, initially, it was fine because everyone fought for their own rights to live how they wanted to and how to act in their bedroom and to not have to be ashamed of it. And that was great. And we had equal rights in the 90s and everything was great. And then suddenly they declassify this and we get mania. Suddenly, the diagnosis of gender dysphoria to go from 0.004% to even 1%, which is an underestimate of the current demographics of the Western world and the youngsters, would be physically impossible, scientifically impossible, and it can only be psychological. And just because you think you're a woman, I'm afraid you're not a thought. A woman is more than just a thought. You can think you're a donkey, you can think you're a woman the next day. What else? You're going to think you're a dog the next day? What is wrong with these people? It's getting insane when teachers are giving people their food in dog bowls because they're pretending that they're a dog. Now, I'm the only person who suggested this. I really want people to do this. Give them pedigree chum or some sort of disgusting smelling wet dog food. If they want to eat out of a dog thing on the floor, on all fours, they want to eat out of a dog bowl, they get dog food. Because that's the reality of it. If you want to pretend to be a dog, you got to eat the dog food. But they don't. As soon as you give them dog food, they stop pretending to be a dog. And that's a telling sign. That metaphor you can play ad infinitum throughout transmania. The amount of transphobia to the old school trans lot, and I give a lot of credit. As a therapist, I'm not saying it was a specialty of mine. I saw a couple of clients with gender dysphoria over the course of my time. So, but I do know that they thought well and hard about what they were doing. They couldn't do it before they were 18, so they had to go through puberty, which is the only way you'll know if you're anything or other than, it's the only way you'll know anything about your sexuality or gender is going through puberty. So puberty blockers are basically, you indoctrinated the kid, and now you want to make sure they don't go through puberty and realise that that's not how they want to be. So that's why we have so many transitioners and so many lives have been carved up, ruined in an experimental surgery that's only successful every other time. 50% success rate for a surgery. The minimum we accept for a necessary medical surgery is 1 in 14 failures. So for an elective surgery with child butchery, 1 in 2 is not a good number to have. But they've used this threat of suicide, that the kids will commit suicide if they are not fully affirmed in their gender crisis. Tim Walz has even made that sexual abuse in his state in Minnesota, that's not allowing your 10-year-old to have a sex change. The first time they ask for it comes under sexual abuse. They take custody of the children in Minnesota and their custody, their wards of the state. They then give them the procedure and go through it all like that. So they take the child from the parent for denying the child a sex change at age 10, when nobody can really comprehend a sex change until they're at least 14. And it's just mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling that the agenda's been pushed. I mean, Christ, Kamala Harris did get caught out. Transgender surgery for immigrant criminals. Now, I'm sorry. Apart from the hilarious fact that if you're in for life and you share a cell with someone else who's in for life and you go away and come out of a vagina, that's probably a jackpot in prison. But other than that, it's not cool and it shouldn't be paid for. I'm sorry, if you're in prison, you don't get to change your gender and move into a different prison. That's been tried in Scotland. And what happened was the guy went on raping everybody. Because they tried it with a rapist for the first time ever, putting a male rapist into a female prison because he identified as a woman. And Nicola Sturgeon, the PM of Scotland, lost her job over that. So all of these weirdness and the idea that they can play in sports. Leah Thomas, absolute disgrace to the world. I don't know her personally, or it. I'm going to say it. I prefer it. Because I don't know what she is, and I don't know, and no one does. When some of these trans people, have they gone through surgery? Because in fact, the vast majority, like 98%, have not gone through any surgery, or in the realms of it. They're just saying they feel like women, keeping their penises, and being 1 and a bit foot taller than all the women. He won all the swimming races, and if you didn't need more convincing. The current female Olympic champion boxer is a man with a penis. So I'm just going to let that sink in again. The Olympic gold medal winning female boxing champion is a man with a penis who beat up a lot of little girls. And that's how sick our society's got. And the Last Supper that they displayed on the day of the Olympics was the most vile affront to Christian and Catholic morality that's ever been. I talk about the bloody cartoons of Muhammad. They'd never have dared mock that because they'd all be killed. But they thought it was okay to say, we're revolutionaries, we don't believe in all of your old religions, we've got this new religion called wokeness. And it's better than all the others because it means it's all about me and everyone cares about what I think and feel. In reality, and that's a key thing to remember, these people were the new transmania lot, but from the post-2019 era, are entirely focused on their identity and linking it to various forms of oppression to get ahead in an oppression Olympics, which seems to be the goal of everyone, is to feel victimhood and therefore need extra help to get ahead because they've been victimized, when there's no victimization going on, except if you do turn yourself into a grotesque form of a human being. As the Bambi witch who won the Eurovision Song Contest, look it up before and after. 2 years earlier, she was a lovely, delightful looking schoolgirl. Relatively pretty, probably. I mean, she seems to be aesthetically okay. And now she has things stapled into her forehead, tattoos everywhere. She thinks she's a queer witch. And that's how these people can move so far from society, because when society pushes back, they retreat an extra level of surrealness from society. And they're constantly pushing the boundaries. I mean, when I heard somebody say there could be up to 1 billion genders when we finally get done with this, I was like, no. We only have 8 billion people. We don't need 1 billion genders. And neo-pronouns, brilliant. So this whole pronoun debate is part of the modern transgender movement. It's ridiculous. I'll never use one. On pain of death, I will never use one. I will be polite and I'll ask their first name, but if they insist I use their pronouns, I will not. But I will be polite. I will always say I did not believe in them, so I will not use them, but I'll please like to address you by your first name, which is perfectly reasonable. You'd think, try doing that in real life. It's hard. It's not reasonable to them. No, you have to have a pronoun, or you have to understand their pronouns and what they mean to. Now, neo-pronouns is when all of the random weird ones, none of them fit you. Why? Because they're not supposed to fit anybody. Because they make no sense. Zim, zit, zop. Why should anyone ever have been referred to as that? Because somebody cooked it up in their mind in a time when the left wing had a stranglehold on the world. The far left wing, the radical left wing. Now that stranglehold is going, and the radical left wing is crumbling fast. And there will be devastation, personality devastation. But they will have driven themselves so far, so many levels past reality, that for some of them there is no turning back. They're going to be pariahs of society for the rest of their lives, but some will be able to. And it's those that's most important, because with the election of Donald Trump, trans surgeries are going to be just executive order. You have to be 18, as it should be. It always was. No reason to change that. There was never a reason to change that. At 18, you can do what you want with your own body. Now, you'll notice the people who did that when they, in the original trans movement, didn't harp on about it, didn't make a big thing about it, didn't try and be famous about it, like Dylan Mulvaney. She's a classic example of someone who is so deluded that she thinks every day of her life matters to everyone else around her. And because she has a bubble of people around her who think like that she does, that her life does matter to all of them. And all she does is grotesque things and weird things. The 36 days of becoming a woman, girlhood. She made a music video. It's disgusting and weird, and it denigrates women. And I'm coming on to that because everyone wants a fair short. Everyone's talking about equity now. Now, I worked out a way how you can describe equity best. Usain Bolt runs 100 metres faster than any man on Earth. But technically speaking, you can put every single human on Earth on that start line and they would finish in exactly the same time as Usain Bolt. You would just very much have to adjust how far they need to go. The smallest would probably be an inch. And, the longest maybe 20 metres. Who knows? But that's how you would equitize athletics. Everyone would get a different starting point depending on their ability, therefore everyone draws. Everyone gets a participation prize. That's the new thing, No, if we lose, we can't. No, we still get a participation trophy. No, because healthy competition is good. And if you lose and you get a trophy, there's not as much dynamism and there's not as much internal pressure to be better next time. And if you're doing something that is a team sport or involves things that you can win and lose at, then you definitely want to be better the next time than you were the last. We only learn from when we fall and rise again. And the more we do that over the course of our lives, the more we learn, the more we grow. That's why everyone becomes more conservative with age. That is not a phenomenon that is consistently happened throughout record-keeping history. Older people are conservative, younger people are more liberal. But this is not liberal. The liberals now are enemies to these people, and they have taken over the movement and they control the movement. They talk down to the gay people. This is what Dr. Douglas Murray was saying about that. They talk down to the gay people and bisexual people and the lesbians, and they ruinate the lives of women because they believe that they should have the same rights as women because they think they're women. Now, I'm sorry, gender dysphoria is a very rare disease of which some people in that group need to get out and get medical and professional and psychological help to make the right decision for them. This new thing is not gender dysphoria, or if it is, it's a model that's been installed through teaching via queer theory, CRT, and trans story hour, and all that crap, and all the library books depicting like two black guys, one giving the other a blowjob, and it's in a kid's library. It's like hardcore porn. What the hell's going on? So they don't ever get dealt. They don't ever have to live up to the responsibility of their actions, and until they do, there's no changing it. It's like anything. If you flooded your bathroom, you've got to turn off a tap before you get up the mop. And growing and learning and falling and getting back up again. Honestly, the more you do that, the stronger your character actually is. I would say I've done it, but very much more than most. I'm very good at falling, and I'm equally very good at getting back up and starting again. And there's a great phrase. I've learned so much from my mistakes. I'm thinking of making a few more. Great phrase, because what he's saying in that is that true learning comes from error, trial and error. But this new transmania, this new woke brigade who insists on all of their rights, who insist on how people talk to them, who insist on who can talk to them, there's now this new thing called cis-information, where they don't take advice from anyone who's straight. And their first reaction was, what happens if you want directions? Are you going to drive around and find somebody trans to ask for directions? Or are you not happy with asking the person on the sidewalk because he's straight? How are you going to order a McDonald's? How are you going to order things in restaurants if you won't have any information from a straight person? What happens if a straight person wants to read you the specials in the restaurant? Nope, that's cis-information. So it's absolute catastrophic, mad, multiple identity crisis. It's a whole mess of a soup that we didn't order and we seem to struggle to throw away. One of the key things that they have that the people have, we've accepted to a large degree when we never should, is that they're a marginalised group. They're kind of the most domestic terrorist group there is, apart from Antifa, who fight fascism and racism with fascism and racism. Good luck with that. that's always been proved to be right, hasn't it? Never that hasn't been tried. Reverse racism, Jesus Christ! But I'm not Catholic, by the way, but so just using the way. But these people have never had to deal with the actions of the consequences of their actions. If you look at the college campuses, if you look at the left-wing protests around the Western world, the amount of consequences people have had to deal with on the far left is minuscule, considering everyone on any of the far-right protests, which are over 100 to 1 far left-wing protests, everyone on the far right automatically gets arrested. But not when it's the far left. No, we treat them with kid gloves. Well, not anymore. There's no more kid gloves. I'm taking the bandage off. Okay. Society does not accept this. Society does not accept this idea that there are more than two genders. It certainly doesn't accept that you can call yourself a woman and enter women's locker rooms, and you certainly can't, if you're born as a biological male, play women's sports, because it could damage the women physically beyond anything else, except the fact they would win everything. And it's a very, very bad thing to do. And I'll leave you with this. Bruce Jenner came out and spoke about that and said what a horrible thing it is to do to women. As an Olympian male athlete, he would have never, he said, in all of his life, never considered ever going into women's sports. Because you could be the 250th tennis seed in the world in male tennis. You transition to be a woman, you're number one. You're winning everything. Because they can't handle your power, your serves. They just can't handle the power of your shots. So that's the end of it. The women in sports has to be done. Donald Trump will probably do an executive order on all of this trans mania. The people in it, unfortunately, have caught cluster B personality disorders, where it's complicated. It's a psychological thing that I need to probably unpick in something that's deliberately about that. But if they continue in their delusion, they pick up more aspects of different borderline personality disorders as they go along, and then they end up being, as I would say, they need real professional help. Now, I'm a retired psychologist. I retired 5 years ago because of an accident. I would help people every time. But I won't encourage them in their delusions, and nor should anyone else, because the only way for their delusions to stop is to stop acknowledging them. So I know that's ironic because I'm making a video about it, but as I said, the tap's still running. Once the tap's off, we stop acknowledging what they want and their pronouns, and we just use pet names or first names or generic names like mate, friend, whatever. You do not affirm their gender because it's all a big fabrication, and that's what they really want. And they're completely nuts, and why are we still allowing completely nuts people to dictate who's offended by what and how much and whether it's acceptable? So on that note, I'll close it down. Please do leave comments below. I love to see how these long form discussions go down. It's a new thing I'm doing this year, and I'm really enjoying making them because it gives me time to get all of my information across. And with the cluster B personality types, and also remember something that I might have missed, with the cluster B personality types, if they're confronted, they will back into an aggressive corner, or they will break down in hysterics and blame everyone around them for causing all of the problems of the world, not just their own. So they are messed up when they're cornered, and that's going to have to be something society deals with. But as a whole, it's a no to the 2S LGBTQIA infinity sign movement. However, the original LGBT movement, very well done, fought for your rights, kept yourselves to yourselves. Blair White, a wonderful example of a transgender woman. I'll give her the title of woman, but I won't give it to anyone in the 2019 to 2024 period. Never. She doesn't have preferred pronouns. They never existed before the idea that gender is a social construct. Yeah, try that. Yeah. They're scared of reading biology books, for Christ's sake, because they know that they're wrong. So we'll leave it there. Thanks for tuning in. Always a pleasure on my side. You be lucky this week. I'll be good. I'll speak to you soon.